Okay, to finish up, I was rushing through some of this stuff just to try to get it done in the 15 minutes. And I'm going to go back as it is within my powers to do to talk about a couple of these things. I don't know if I need to add anything about a good sense of humor, but good sense of humor will diffuse difficult situations, will help you make relationships with people, and just be a human being. So it's a if it isn't valued where you're working, well, maybe you better look around after you spent your year there. This second point, the example I like to cite here for you guys to think about, has to do with Uber. I don't know if you're aware, but there was a female employee at Uber who a couple of years ago reported on some sexual harassment that she had put up with. And I don't right now recall how this kind of burst out into the public, but it did. She was hired into the engineering department, so the code writing department for Uber, which in most companies tends to be a very male-dominated kind of environment. Not many women are in these departments, unfortunately, at this point, and I'm sure that will change. And I hope you guys are part of that. So she was harassed. People were asking her out and making comments about her and her clothing and different things. And she went to Human Resources at Uber, and Human Resources did not properly understand their role. And instead of taking her complaints and running them up the line to senior management and having them handled, Human Resources thought their job was to be a tattletale and go back to this woman's managers with her complaints and make her problem even worse, which is completely unacceptable. And so this young woman put up with this nonsense for some time. And here's how much time she put up with it, a year. And I think you'll find, if you look at the records, that very shortly after she had a year in the coding/engineering department at Uber, she quit. By the way, her complaints ended up leading to the ouster of Travis Kalanick, who was the founder of Uber, and let's say, an incubator of the male-dominated culture at Uber. Her complaints had a revolutionary effect on the company. Now, I don't know where she's working now or what she's doing. I hope she is very successful. She sounds like the kind of person who should be. The point I want to make with you guys is she still stuck it out for at least a year. So on her resume, it says she worked at Uber in the engineering department for a year. Now, does that mean you should put up with some abuse or be in danger to stick it out somewhere for a year? Heck no. That's an extreme kind of story. What it does say is, if you're there somewhere in less than a year, it doesn't even count on your resume to most people interviewing young job candidates. And I've done a lot of interviewing of young job candidates. My usual question is, why do you keep bouncing around? Can't you get it done where you're working? Best thing you can do at one of your first jobs is to stay there long enough to get promoted, because that means you are a real player and somebody who accomplishes things, somebody who gets along with people and gets things done. Stick it out and get promoted if you possibly can. So here's the part about communicating everything with people. I work for this Israeli company called Magink Displays. One of our products was not a digital sign like the Magink technology, but just a plain kind of real-world sign, something that was printed on paper. And this particular sign was supposed to rotate and show, 3 different faces or images It was also supposed to be able to produce sound that would be broadcast through speakers so that you could have different audio each time you changed an image. And the company American Doll, how many of you have heard of American Doll? Saw the sign at an expo, wanted one for the Native American section at the store they were about to build in Manhattan. This was, as you, I'm sure, can figure out, was some time ago. And at that time, our company was having these signs physically made in China. We found a new supplier for the signs that was cheaper than the one we had been using. Unfortunately, we did not set up the proper quality control for this supplier. And so signs that had been created by this supplier as we were trying to get this technology adopted more broadly with people like American Doll and other companies, signs had been sent already from China for people to try the technology, and they hadn't figured out AC versus DC. It didn't work on American electrical current or French electrical current. Anyway, there were problems. There was no quality control installed by our little tiny company. And so this new supplier was cheaper, but the signs that we were sending to people as their first experience were not working. And American Doll ordered one of our signs from China for the opening of their New York City store. And beyond the fact that the sign worked or didn't work, it was supposed to be at the store in Manhattan by a certain date to be tested. And I delegated, which can be a dangerous word, the shipping of that sign from China to New York City to the one employee I had working with me in New York. I thought he could handle it, but the sign did not arrive on time. It didn't arrive on time because this employee said, well, I emailed everyone and told them what they were supposed to do, that it had to get there, so it's not my problem. Well, that's not what you do with a vital event for your company. What you do with a vital event for your company is you get everyone involved in the shipping on the phone. The Chinese manufacturer, your import agent, everybody probably except the client because you don't want to embarrass yourself. Everybody is on the phone and you go over all the timing needs and details. When does it have to be here? When does it have to be there? Then what happens? What happens when it's shipped? Is it in customs? How does it get through customs? And you talk about bad things that could happen and you work everything out. You solve all the problems and all the things that could happen on the phone together. You all have backup plans. And then you have everybody's communication coordinates, their emails and their cell phones while this whole process is happening. And everyone's available. They're not at their aunt's house, having Thanksgiving. They have their phone up. And if there are problems, you deal with them then. So that's how you get things done. If you want to get something done, get it done. Come to your boss with solutions, not problems. Don't go in whining about something that happened to you. Go in and have some suggestions as to how to solve it. Now, here's another one. I always ask my class who wants to work at an agency. Agencies typically handle just one small part of the marketing mix on a business. They handle the ads, they handle the social media, they handle the PR. That's all fine and good. But if you're just starting out in your career, the best experience for you to have is to run a business, to be a brand manager or VP marketing, to go to Procter & Gamble and run the Cascade dishwashing detergent business. Won't be your first job there, but you'll have it within 3 or 4 years. And you'll handle the promotions, the public relations, the social media, the advertising, the product development, the packaging, the retail relationships, product development, how to improve the product, and whether your brand is making money or not. If you have experience like that, you can translate that to an agency job down the road, and you'll be 10 times as valuable as someone who only understands how to run the advertising. Why? Because your clients are cascade brand managers, and they'll listen to you as a former brand manager with 10 times more seriousness than they would somebody who just ran advertising. And you'll bring so much more to the job. If you wait 5 or 10 years to try to get management experience on a brand, they won't hire you. So do it early. This is my last one. This is something John Kennedy said once in a speech, and I asked my classes, do you know who John Kennedy was? John F. Kennedy, our president. He's a very eloquent person. And this is one thing that he said about working. So, to make full use of your powers along lines of excellence. So the idea here is to have a job or position that is pursuing excellence. Whether you're selling Cheerios and helping to provide jobs and meals and homes for thousands and thousands of people who work on Cheerios, or whether you're working for a not-for-profit in the environment, you're doing something that's contributing to our society and our world. Making full use of your powers means that you are stretched intellectually, emotionally, any way you can be stretched. It's not some boring routine job where you're stamping papers all day. That's the best kind of job. Now, in addition to this, I'm also going to say, always have respect for any person who's doing a job, whatever the job is, whether it's giving you your order at McDonald's or handling your phone complaints at Amazon, even though that person doesn't make as much money as you do or is in more of a routine job. Any person who has a job that shows up and is responsible to his or her family and his or her obligations deserves our respect. And I always call people Mr. or Ms. or Miss or whatever the case may be, whatever job they have, they deserve complete respect. For you, yes, you want to be stretched along the lines of excellence. Just recognize that everyone in this life deserves respect. And your definition as a person is not based on what you do. Please understand that. It's based on who you are. And with that, I'm going to make one more comment here. Oh, if they'll let me. Yes. Please link in with me. That's my LinkedIn profile. It's a picture of me and my daughter when she was about 3 years old. It's actually a painting based on a photograph. I want to try to build a LinkedIn network with people who've taken my classes. I want to be aware of internships and jobs and kind of stay in touch with you and maybe send you guys out some ideas or some things from time to time. So please link in with me. So what have we covered? We did an overview, real quick, of what we talked about in the class, giving you a few thoughts for your success in the future. And it's been a pleasure having you guys in this class, and I wish you all the best.